Sports betting feels like it's everywhere. You can watch a game on Sunday afternoon and see a half dozen commercials encouraging you to place your bet, make your pick. But this overnight boom was actually centuries in the making. Today, we're walking through the history of sports betting, how it began, how lawmakers tried to stop it, and how we've arrived at this era where placing a bet is as easy as opening an app. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Antoinette Chanel and welcome to my channel. Wagering on sports athletes is almost as old as the sports themselves. Ancient Greeks would bet on Olympic foot races and wrestling matches. The Romans placed bets on gladiator fights and chariot races. Even in China, games of chance at some of their earliest gambling houses were often tied to sports betting. And these weren't casual side activities. Betting was a social ritual that often added excitement and sometimes chaos to the public spectacle. Fast forward to 17th century England, where organized horse racing was a national pastime. British colonists brought that enthusiasm to the Americas, so that by the 1800s, race tracks, where you could actually bet on the horse races, were dotted across the United States, and betting on boxing matches and baseball games was soon to follow. But with money came trouble. Scandals like rigged races or fixed boxing matches started to become prevalent, necessitating some government action because gambling had earned a reputation as being a shady activity. By the late 19th century, most states had moved to ban most forms of gambling in order to combat the corruption. Bookmaking went underground, illegal turf clubs and backroom bookies flourished. They were often protected by organized crime syndicates. Nevada stood apart, so facing economic ruin during the Great Depression, Nevada decided to legalize casino gambling in 1931. But even there, sports betting remained a gray area. Sports betting in Nevada was often confined to those turf clubs that I mentioned just a bit ago, and those clubs had limited oversight. Federal crackdowns did start to emerge, and we saw specifically, I'm going to read from my notes, the Wire Act of 1961 made it illegal to transmit sports bets across state lines using telephones or telegraphs. The goal was to cut off the mob's revenue stream. Then there was the Interstate Horse Racing Act of 1978, which allowed regulated wagering on horse races that crossed state borders, but it was a narrow carve-out. Then came the big one, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992, also known as PASPA. This law effectively banned sports betting nationwide except in a few grandfathered states like Nevada. For decades, if you wanted to bet on the NFL legally, Nevada was the only place that you could do that. PASPA didn't really kill sports betting, it really just pushed it even further underground. Offshore websites sprang up and local bookies still took action, often with heavy risks for bettors. Meanwhile, fantasy sports gained popularity, skirting gambling affiliations by being classified as games of skill. Gambling, just so that you know, doesn't require any skill. It's all up to chance. But then everything changed in 2018. The state of New Jersey challenged PASPA, alleging that it was a violation of the state's rights. The U.S. Supreme Court agreed in Murphy versus NCAA, which then led to the striking down of PASPA, empowering the states to legalize and regulate gambling within their borders. And so almost overnight, the market opened, and states were racing to create some sort of legal jargon about this so that they could then open up the market within their boundaries and start collecting that money that people were betting, money that could be taxed, money that can create revenue for the state. Today, more than 35 states and Washington, D.C. have legalized some form of sports wagering. But the biggest shift now is mobile betting. Apps like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, and Caesars Sportsbook have turned every smartphone into a casino window. Bettors can place a wager in seconds, from the couch, at a bar, even at the game that they are watching. Professional leagues once staunchly against the practice of sports betting have now partnered with a lot of these sports books. I'm going to look at my notes as I read this to you. The NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL all have sponsorship deals, and their broadcast partners openly integrate those sports betting odds into the live coverage of these games. The numbers are staggering. US bettors had wagered tens of billions of dollars just within the first few years after legalization. It generates billions in tax revenue too, so it's not completely bad on the surface. States are then they are saying that they're using that money for things like education, for infrastructure, and for public health programs. The market isn't just about traditional bets anymore either. Now, live wagering allows you to make a prediction about the next play, the next home run, or the next touchdown right from your phone. These types of micro bets keep fans engaged with the process of wagering and betting more readily, creating a faster and more interactive gambling experience. But rapid growth brings concerns. Problem gambling rates are rising, especially among young adults. Aggressive advertising floods television and social media and then normalizes the idea of betting to teenagers who aren't even of age to be able to bet yet. Regulations also vary quite a bit from state to state. Simply crossing the border can change what's legal and what isn't. The Federal Wire Act is still preventing betting across state lines. Advocates are calling for stronger user protections, while the operators are arguing that they've already implemented tools such as limited deposits or self-exclusion tools. Some folks would say that that's not enough. So where does it go from here? Some experts predict that we will have a fully legalized gambling United States in the future. So all 50 states are going to make sports betting and gambling legal. Others think that the patchwork of state laws is going to remain. Emerging technologies like blockchain-based sports books and AI-powered odds are already reshaping the landscape. Sports betting has traveled a remarkable road, from ancient arenas to horse tracks, from smoky back rooms to glowing on your screen right in front of you. Whether you see this as entertainment or investment or risky, there is no denying that sports wagering has become a part of modern sports culture. And as we continue to sort of flirt with this very enticing but also potentially dangerous entity, I think that the greatest defense that we have is for people to be educated on just exactly how sports betting works, which is basic probability, and understanding that consequences can have actions, even when the action was just a simple press of a button on your screen. The consequences that can come from that might seem like mountainous, huge, overblown reactions to something very simple, but that doesn't make you exempt from those consequences. I think most people right now need to understand that. And we also need to make sure that we're educating young people on the dangers of sports betting and just gambling in general, and also understanding how finances work. Because anybody with a clear sense of how to manage their finances is probably going to swear off all gambling altogether, because it's very risky, it's very wasteful. But those are just my thoughts. Well, friends, we've made it to the end of another video, and if you've gotten to the end, all the way to the end, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up so that other people here on YouTube can also find it. Also, if you're interested in more of my content, consider hitting the subscribe button. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at the handle that's on your screen right there. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, my friends, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Take care. You've just watched one of my videos, but did you know there's an entire Antoinetteverse? On my namesake YouTube channel, I dive into current events and share my critical commentary. Over on Instagram, you can keep up with my life as a writer and educational specialist. On the Write Life blog, I explore how reading, writing, and emotional expression help us to grow. And on my Substack, I publish personal essays and sometimes share sneak peeks from my upcoming book. Wherever you join me, thank you for being here. And I'll see you in the next one.